Yeah.
If I make any random squeals, it's because, which probably sounds like a really odd thing to say, and you don't know what I'm going to say next. But I've got about 8 or 9 eBay listings ending in in a little bit. My phone
Oh,
keeps popping
snap.
up with bid notifications.
Okay.
It's brilliant because
Okay.
I'm selling more of my video games to afford more cards. You see,
Okay. Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
kind of the way it
That
needs to
was that
be.
was a huge boom during COVID. I mean, like after COVID, the video game market went crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in it for. I mean, I'm kind of exiting it now. I mean, that
Yeah.
top row of say what you call Sega Genesis, Sega Mega Drive, the row below was full, so I've been gradually listing them throughout August, um, just because I needed some hobby spend, you know. So, um, anyway, hello everybody. My name is Ian Taylor, and you are listening to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast, your weekly digest of hobby goodness. Joining me this week is a guest I truly know very little about, so slip off your shoes, don a corduroy smoking jacket and some silk slacks, open that bottle of 1996 Chateau Marine you've been saving for a special occasion, and relax as we both get to know Andrew Nguyen, who goes by the handle of Southern Hype Collects on Instagram and whatnot. Welcome to the podcast, Andrew.
Thank you, Ian. That was a one of the smoothest intros that I've ever received about myself, so I
Mm,
really appreciate it.
that's okay. Smoother than an
Um,
otter's pocket, as I like to say.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I've been following you and following NCCW for quite a while, and I'm extremely, extremely excited to tell you my story today. So appreciate it.
Well, let's get into it. I want it. I guess my first question is your handle, as I refer to it on Instagram, Southern Hype Collects. What's that mean? What's that all about?
Yeah. So the background of that one is I in 2022 and around March, I actually quit my job because I was highly stressed, and I've been working at that job for about 3 years, and I was just under extreme stress, and I was just like, I was talking to my family, and I was like, this is not this career and this new management and this new job is not for me. So I think I need to take a break, and I had a lot of support, and I remember just you know, leaving that job a month in, and I was just like, what am I gonna do? Like, what am I gonna do with my life? And I wanted to I was collecting Pokemon cards at the time and a little bit of Marvel, just by jumping into some whatnot streams. And I was like, I would love to just be able to begin my collectibles channel. And so I remember staying up that night and I started like around 12 o'clock and I was like, I want to develop a brand tonight. Like I want to brand myself tonight. I want to be able to decide what my name's going to be within this space and then I'll come up with a logo. So I put some things together and I was like, all right, I'm from the Carolinas. I'm obviously from the South. In the US, I'm from the South, North and South Carolina, right? So I'm gonna say okay, well, I'm from the South. I'm Southern. I have a little bit of a country twang, so I'll say I'm Southern.
Hmm.
And then I was I'd been into sneakers and streetwear culture and things that are quote unquote hype for quite a while.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was just like hype, hype means extravagant. So to me, hype means extravagant, excited. So I'm gonna say Southern hype. And then what am I doing? Like I have a ton of collectibles. I collect things. I've collect sneakers. I've collect trading cards. Like
yeah.
Southern Hype collects, and then it all kind of clicked together.
Hmm.
Southern Hype collects, and then that night, so I decided that name around like 1:30, right in the morning,
Right.
and then that night I downloaded like three different iPhone apps like to create logos, and I was just coming through like it was just like this moment where I
Hmm.
just could not stop. I was just going, going, going. And then I don't know if you see my Instagram or any of
Yeah, I've
my
got it up.
socials,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Let me have a look.
I have it's just like a circle logo with a bunch of triangles, but it's just appealing to the eye because I thought it really stood out, and I fit the name Southern Height Collects within the triangle, and they're all interconnected. So it's just like it's meaningful for me. So fast forward 4:30, I didn't even sleep that night, and I was like, holy shit, I I developed it. Like this is it. This is what I'm gonna be called. This is what I'm gonna start with. And I'm really proud of this. And I like got friends and family to kind of just, get their feedback and they thought it was really cool and they were like, "You did this in a night?" I was like, "Yeah, I was extremely driven that night to really just be able to understand what this channel and what this brand is going to be for
Yeah,
myself." So that's how Southern Hype Collects started.
I like it. Now, for those listening or watching, if you want to check that out, you can see it on Instagram. In fact, let me very, very quickly share screen for the gorgeous folks who are watching, and you can see Andrew's Instagram channel. There you go, Southern Hype Collects, and there's the little logo as well. I dig that. That's cool. I like that a lot.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
It works in the circle as well. There's something very
Yeah,
satisfying
just
about having a triangle in a circle. I don't
right.
know.
I thought so, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, this it's just something to start with, and we just kind of build from there. I haven't really gone into, any merchandise or anything like that. This for me is just it's a hobby. Obviously I have a career now.
Yeah.
It's something that I'm passionate about outside of work, and outside of just family life. And that's what I've come to realize that when I was going through that kind of work break that I had, I focused a lot on it. And obviously we kind of started a whatnot channel and try to just, I was inspired by a lot of the various different breakers who have been a guest on your channel in the past. And I just felt like this is, with my personality, this is kind of something that I could do and just enjoy with people because I feel
Mm,
like my personality would be a good time to hang out with.
yeah.
And the collecting is just the addition to just putting on a good show.
Mm,
So,
mm.
but
No,
yeah.
it's cool. I like it. You know what? It reminds me of your story. Have you seen the movie Jerry Maguire?
Yeah, I have seen
Yeah.
Jerry
You know when he
Maguire.
writes the
Yeah,
memo, when he's like up
yeah,
at night writing the memo and it completely changes everything.
yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that a little bit. So,
I mean,
um,
I tell you, it was my wife was like, "You stayed up that late?" And I was like, "But take a look at what I created." She's like, "Oh shit, this is actually pretty cool. Like you're gonna put your collection on there. You're gonna buy, sell, trade on there. You're gonna give
yeah,
advice on there."
yeah,
Like I was like, "Yeah,
yeah.
this is my speaking channel to everyone that this is my brand. And so it was just like a moment for me. And I never created it thinking that this was going to be a revenue driver. I created it as this is something I get to share and show with people. And
Yeah.
and if money comes in or out, that just comes and goes. It's not anything that I think that I'm going to be rich on. It wasn't the
Mm,
purpose of my brand.
mm, mm. No, it's cool. I mean, as an expression, and a voice out there. I think it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
I like it. So let's rewind a little bit. So you mentioned you were into Pokemon or Pokemon,
Yeah.
Pokemon or Pokemon? Which is it?
Pokemon.
Pokemon. Did I say
Yeah.
Pokemon? I think, yeah,
You can call them pocket monsters too. They're called
Pocket.
that in
Oh,
Japan.
really? Okay, right.
Pocket monsters, yeah.
All I know is my daughter's started to get really into them. She's got no idea. I mean, apparently it's a game. No idea about any of that. She just likes the creatures and
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
shiny stuff. So I think for that point of view, it's really accessible. So anyway, you're into Pokemon before you kind of started the channel, and were you into Marvel cards before then? I mean, how did you get into both? I guess.
Yeah, so a little bit of my background is I feel like I am the ideal 90s baby, like, you know, growing up in the 90s nostalgia kid, right? So a little bit of my background is I grew up obviously in North and South Carolina. My family immigrated here to the Carolinas and started their own businesses in the restaurant business. So I had cousins in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I lived in Greenville, South Carolina at the time. And my parents would just ship us up or vice versa every summer. And I know that around uh, this convention called Heroes Con every year,
Mm,
we would have to be in Charlotte as kids. So it was like us three cousins really into, well, my cousin was in the comics, but I was just into Marvel because we were just kids. I remember one of my first memories of Heroes Con is my cousin was a teenager at the time, seriously into comic books. Like this guy is, I mean, massive collection. And
Mhm.
I would just tag along. But for us, it was like being at Disney World for Marvel and superheroes because we would see Spider-Man walking around. We'd see so many back then that it was cosplay as well, but there was also like paid, like I feel like paid costume people to
Yeah,
run around and take photos with us. And it was like a whole, I mean, comic book conventions back then was just like it was unreal. I mean, it was like you could see Stan Lee and you could see people just walking around that are famous artists that were just walking around casually.
yeah.
And I remember I would just go to each one of the comic book stands with my cousins. He'd flip through all the comics. I actually didn't really read comics growing up. More so like because of 90s basketball trading cards, baseball cards, and sports cards, I was more gravitating towards smaller cards and
Mm.
the imagery and then the small stories on the back. And then what got me in it was I believe it was 92 Impel universe. So you remember in the back of the Marvel Universe, Impel Universe, there was like various different power slots, right? You could
Yeah.
see the various different power slots. They'll tell you a little bit about the superhero, supervillain. And I was like, I always thought that was super intriguing and
Mm.
debatable because my cousin was like, oh, well, in the comics, XYZ, he's not really that. I was like, well, the trading card says right here, this is how much his strength is, you know? And he was like extremely into the Infinity Gauntlet and the whole Marvel Universe thing was like really eye catching for me. And then I got a little bit into the X-Men as well, Impel X-Men. And um, I just remember there was a point where we were just kids though, like we were just 10 or 11 just playing like and we didn't care about preserving these cards. You know, they would just stay in a stack, stay in a shoebox. We would even throw them around. We used to call it like throwing them around like Gambit because, you know, the animated series was going
Yeah.
on. So we would try to like just play around with them and stuff, you know? And it was just fun. It was a fun time, you know, it was a really fun time. Like I was really into just a little bit of the cards, extremely into action figures, you know, then because G.I. Joe's X-Men, Marvel, Spider-Man, Toy Biz was going
Mm.
crazy in the 90s. Um, and we were just playing with action figures like crazy. Anytime, so my parents and our parents, I would say, within our generation, in my family, they work so hard and they're entrepreneurs. So I think that their love language for us, and it's fine, you know, because they want to give their kids everything that they can, but their love language was definitely gift giving because they couldn't be there all the time. And, you know, if our treat was like to go to KB Toys to go buy a figurine or go to a
Yeah.
comic book shop to buy cards or comics or anything. It's just anything for your kids to kind of just make them I wouldn't say busy, but just show them that you love them and show them that
Mm. Mm.
um that they can have anything they want as long as they're good kids and stuff like that. So it was nice. I mean, in the cartoon series got me through it. I think that was a huge influence in my life, like cartoons after school. It would have a run from like 3 p.m. all the way to 6 p.m. So that was like
Mhm.
a lot of my days. And then also just I think back in the 90s, arcades were a huge deal.
Yes.
Like we were extremely social, like just to love going to the mall or going to any type of arcade. They used to even have arcades outside of like we call them Kmart's or like Walmart's would
Yeah,
be
yeah,
the
yeah.
example for today. And
Yeah.
there would just be like a whole section in the whole room where they would have all these different arcade games. And I remember seeing Marvel vs. Capcom for the first time. And I was
Nice.
already a Street Fighter guy, right? But I knew that Marvel was a big deal in my life already at the time. And I was like, holy crap, they're collaborating. And we used to spend coins. Like we used to spend like, $5 a kid like every 30 minutes just trying to battle each other
Wow.
out on these like arcade games. And it was just so cool. I remember like seeing Spider-Man Super for the first time and like all of these like crazy different graphics that these Japanese companies made
Mm.
for these Marvel characters. And like everybody knows Wolverine, the famous Wolverine moves in X-Men versus Capcom as well. So like that was a huge thing for me. That carried my Marvel passion on. So there's like various different types of inlets, that they kind of put into us where it just kind of carried on through my life. Um, and then, I 96 Pokemon was a big thing. Every kid I feel like knew about Pokemon, collected some sort of Pokemon. It was actually banned from my middle school like a
Wow.
couple months in because kids were taking their collections and binders into school. And I mean, I was guilty of it too. Buy, sell, or trading, right? And some kids were getting ripped off and crying home to their mom. Their mom would complain, or some kids would steal from each other. And it was just
Mm.
like a whole pandemic, really, of Pokemon cards. And it was just an interesting time because like there were so many different fads and trends at the time. But I know
Yeah.
that like Marvel is probably one of the most consistent types of like, you know, I would say like product that has been just, MCU has even carried through my life. It's just like it's just kind of just stuck around. And then, your nieces and nephews kind of get into it a little bit and it kind of brings you back. Just every stage just kind of brings you back that you don't forget about Spider-Man. You don't forget about
Mm.
the X-Men. It's just like they're always there, which is really cool. So
No, it is really cool. I remember when I was in the 80s, I was what my mum would do, she'd give me some of the old UK 10p coins, and they were the ones that went in the arcades. And we didn't have many. I think there was a cafe in the middle of the small town I was in that had Galaxian.
yeah.
I think it had something else as well. But then there was a video store. Like was there was a town nearby that had one of those sit-down Star Wars where where you could sit in it and you'd have the sound
Oh,
and
that's pretty
the
crazy.
X-wing stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
I
Um,
just I just had a flashback of actually the first Marvel game that I saw in the arcade that was just insane. It was like it was the arcade game where you could have, I think it was one, two, three. I think either four or five people stand at the same time. And it was the
mm,
X-Men game. It was
yeah,
the X-Men game that it was the OG Storm and it was like the old Wolverine and I remember this massive arcade machine because they've slimmed it down a little bit, but I remember the one that we went to at the mall was like it was like huge. It was like
yeah,
various different like angled screens and it was like I remember I think it was like 50 cents at the time to play around and you had to
wow,
play with your buddies to even make it through to try
yeah,
to get to Magneto. It was a big deal. I forgot which one that was called, but it was the X-Men game. I remember that just being like just like the rave of the
yeah,
arcade.
yeah.
And that was really cool.
Those multiplayer. I remember going back a little bit before you got to those bigger machines. Gauntlet used to be up to four players because you had a dwarf, a barbarian, something else, which is very similar to Golden Axe. But Gauntlet, I don't know if you've ever played it, but it's like a top-down dungeon crawler,
Okay.
and you'd go in and
Okay.
have to clear a level. And this, it still had just had the one screen, but it was quite a big one. And the kind of
Right.
the bit where you had the joystick kind of came out like a horseshoe, and it had four joysticks and four buttons. So a kid could stand
Okay.
on the outside of the horseshoe and still be able
Right.
to control it. And then
Yeah.
you'd have two kids like standing inside it next to each other. That was hilarious.
That's
I've literally not thought about that until this very moment in like 30
yeah.
years. So that's
Oh my
hilarious.
God.
Um, so let's fast forward. So where did you when you obviously had that night of revelations, we'll call it, where were you with cards at that point? Because it sounds like you were kind of big into it as an adult at that stage, if you were able to kind of
So
um,
um yeah, so at the time my Pokemon collection is pretty extensive. I just many years, just like for many years, I just feel like I would. come in and exit, find something that I love and exit. Not exit really, but just like kind of just take a rest and just
Mm.
not really like, it's like collector's fatigue kind of, right? Which
Yeah,
I which I don't feel about Marvel, but for Pokemon I did. Like it was like going into English vintage, and then English modern I got into, and I had to take a break. And then I found Japanese cards, and I got into Japanese vintage, took a little break because I would buy things or sell a little bit, buy a lot, and just keep it into the collection, right? And I noticed that every time that I actually, needed to I guess you could say resell something or just like thin out the collection. For the most part, for Pokemon, when I invested early and I found the things that are a pathway that I felt like that was going to be possibly trendy one day,
hmm
I did okay. I also sold way earlier for a profit, and now things have 6x or 10x.
yeah,
But um, for Pokemon, it's been through the 2000s and on for me. It's just been a part of my life for a long time. For Marvel, it was July 22nd, or maybe a couple months before July. I just kind of jumped onto Whatnot and just was a part of a couple of breaks. I remember being with my mom during back surgery and going on Whatnot and jumping on somebody breaking. I believe it was the 95 Spider-Man, Ultra Flare Spider-Man. And I
nice.
jumped into a couple of packs and I was like, these cards are awesome. Because I didn't get to collect those back in the day,
Mm,
right? And then, there were some breakers doing like uh 1990 Marvel. And then also I ran into Cards of Metal, which is Ian Cards of
yeah.
Metal. Shout out to Cards of Metal. And I ran into the set called 2018 Marvel Masterpieces with Simone Bianchi. And I was like, what is this? And first of all, I was like, what is this? I believe, it was like for one pack, it was like, I don't know, 80 to $100 at the time, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And I was like, man, this is crazy. But I started seeing some of the cards and I was like, okay, I got to get into this.
yeah.
And I jumped into the break and behold you, the first card that I actually pulled out of that pack was a sketch card. It was,
Oh,
because there was a sketch card in every
sketch in
box.
every box. Yeah.
And it was actually this sketch card right here by Andy Dugan right here,
Nice.
of Spider-Man right here. And I was just like, this is insane. Like sketch cards are insane. This is 2018 Marvel
Mm,
Masterpieces. And I was like, there's always something that kind of hooks you into the hobby again. I think this was the moment. Um, this was the moment for me, this card right here. And I was just like, wow, this set is awesome. Marvel Premium products are awesome. I was like, I need to do some more research on this product and I need to get into the hobby again.
mm.
And so that's what was like kind of the moment for me where things have shifted into Marvel.
Excuse me, I had to mute there because I'm just
Oh,
coughing and
you're
dying.
good.
Yeah, I'm coughing
You're
and dying.
good.
Now, I was about to say, which started me coughing. Excuse me. Um,
I
I
felt the
will, I
same
will
way.
trim this
I
out.
felt the same way. I felt the same
When
way
you
when
get,
I was
when
drinking a
your
drink
throat
and
just
I
gets,
pulled that card.
oh,
Straight frog in the throat, yeah.
um, what I was going to say was, um, for those listening on audio, we'll make sure there's an image of that card on the show notes so you can hear
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
Um,
For sure. Yeah.
I'm just gonna have another sip of my tea. Oh dear, that's made
Yeah,
my eyes
I'll
water. That has.
describe the card
Mm.
for you. I'll describe the card for you, right? So you have it's a sketch by Andy Dugan. He doesn't really sketch Marvel cards anymore, I noticed, but the style of this card is just incredible to me because it's it's Peter Parker putting on a Spider-Man mask. His backpack's in the background with one of his Spider-Man gloves and his books. And it looks like he is like almost at a laundromat or so. I mean, the background kind of says it says clean up here, right? And it's just like these little things in the way he highlighted the character.
That's cool.
Um, it was just so unique to me, this sketch. I don't know why this one means so much to me. I have so many other different sketches with a little bit more detail, but
You
this
never
one
forget your
will stay
first.
in the I mean, this one's gonna stay in the PC forever. I'm a Spider-Man sketch collector
Yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
right? So
Oh,
like
well.
this is just it has a special place for me, related to whatnot, related to Cars and Metal, related to
Yeah, yeah,
Spider-Man,
yeah.
related to me entering back into the hobby. There's so many
Nice.
things that just point me to memories of when I first started back into Marvel cards. So it's just I don't know, it was just cool for me,
So that was
and
your first ever
everyone has
sketch.
it. That was my first ever sketch,
Wow.
Ian, and I've had a lot since then because
I can see on your Instagram there's some
I
fire.
can
Oh
oh
my
yeah,
goodness. I'm
this
I'm
is
gonna,
you right here. You would love this one right here.
oh,
This
there
is
she is.
from Ninja Inc. Tim Shin Ninja Inc. right
Oh
here.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is
Tim
from
Shin.
I tell you, 2018 had some of the best sketches in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I just want to have another little scroll down your Instagram because you've got some,
Okay.
wow, you've got some
Yeah.
sketches on here. Look at these. Um, is that an anime one there? It is.
That is from Liddy. Yeah, that's actually I found it within your group. MCCW has been amazing to me.
Uh-huh.
But this one is awesome. I talked to Liddy on DM and she was telling me about all the little hints that she put onto Extra Mutants into this card.
I just
And it's
spotted
so
two on the
cute
back.
and
Yeah.
funny. Yeah. And then you got Beast's hair on the lower
Yeah, I just spotted
right.
that. Is that
Yeah.
Cyclops glasses? There's a playing
Those
card.
those are I think those are Jubilee's glasses
Oh,
right
are they?
there.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you have
That's a
yeah,
playing card.
Gambit
That's
and Gambit's bow.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then people were wondering about the top right photo right there. Do you know what the top right photo is?
Phoenix?
Yeah, yeah, it's Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Scarlet Witch below it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I'll listen, guys. I won't put that on the show notes. Just go to Andrew's Instagram feed and enjoy because there's some. I'm just going to scroll to the right here because I this Spidey. That's cool. Oh, Sana.
Yeah, yeah.
Sana. She's so cool. I once had a Sana black cat back in the
There's
day.
one on eBay right now that is spicy right now, and
Yeah.
I was following it. She's great. I want her to do a black hat for me one day, but her commissions are a little out of my price range right now.
Yeah, so, I mean,
So
this was from Masterpieces oh 07, oh 08, I think. Um, and it just wasn't personally my style at the time or since.
yeah,
So I parted with it. But if I'd kept it, it's one of those things. Obviously, if you keep it, you never know which way things are going to go. But Santa's stuff now is just like,
yeah.
because she
Wow.
was out of
Yeah, she's
cards for a while.
completely.
She was out of cards for a long while. Um, and then she kind of came back around Marvel Anime time.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a banging
If
card.
I could vote for one of the hottest, the just like the most in demand artists for the past couple of years, I would say Liddy and Santa would have to be one of my, the top three for sure because they just
Mm,
move so crazy.
that's that's quite something. That the layout of that sketch, I love it. The
Yeah.
Surfer Galactus one. That's
I've
cool.
learned a I've learned a lot through your group like the past year and a half, and
Mm.
it's been amazing to reach out to some of the collectors. You have some of the most like intense collectors that I've ever ran into. You probably would like that black cat right there Ian, on the top right.
This one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say no to that because
You don't?
no, and the reason being, I mean, it's a banging sketch, and look at that perspective. I'm a sucker for let me put my teeth in, for perspective on sketches, because I know how difficult it is to do at such a small scale.
Yeah.
And that if you think about how small that card is, and that spider is so well defined, and it must be
Right.
absolutely tiny. It must be like a fingernail kind of size. But I'm looking at it, and I only collect Black Cat on sketches when she's solo.
Okay. Okay.
So if she's got anyone else there, I get all jealous. I can't do it. I can't do it. Um, but also, I've kind of I think I've probably put a lid on my Black Cat sketch collecting, having
Okay.
trimmed down,
Okay.
massively.
That's
But
That's
it is a great
interesting that
sketch.
you want her solo because I actually love the like kind of like love story or the infatuation between the two.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
when I go to a sketch artist and do an AP, I say I want something that shows like the fun,
Mm.
playful flirtiness, like togetherness and chase of like Black Cat and Spider-Man.
Oh,
Because
you've
I'm a
got that there.
Spider-Man
Yeah.
because I'm a Spider-Man, sketch
Gotcha. Yeah,
collector,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Black Cat's like my my female PC,
Yeah,
and I was just like
yeah,
their whole love interest is so interesting for me because
yeah,
it never really happened, but it happened,
yeah,
and they just have this, flirty funness together. And
yeah,
I want to portray that in art for my sketches. So that's very interesting that we have two different types
yeah.
of Black Cat ways to collect.
I mean, it's cool because there's so many. That's the thing, and that's the one thing I think you probably would have picked up on since coming. But I'm going to go off your feed for a moment because it's distracting me no
Okay.
end with all the good stuff there. But it's the one good thing that you'll have picked up is that there's so many ways to approach it. There's
Yeah.
so many angles, and a lot of that's subjective, but a lot of it as well is just well, it's also subjective, but it's down to the individual. And there's people who go hard in a certain direction and don't care for anything else. There's other people who will quite happily go
Yeah.
for some of the stuff they don't go in for. So I just want to go back a step. So on that Cards of Metal, whatnot, we pulled that sketch. Did you end up going deep into Masterpieces 2018 as a set? I mean, do you set collect or do you just go after pieces that speak to you?
I don't set collect. I've never been a person to fill out the bind. I think the last time I filled out a binder for a whole set was Pokemon base series, like base, you know, I
Yeah.
did the whole one through whatever it was and try to finish the whole set. Sorry. I got my other phone here. Sorry about that. But
That's all right.
I'm not a set collector.
Yeah.
That's not the way I collect. I applaud people who are completionists and they want to complete a set. Um, I'm more so of I like to collect the characters. I like to collect in the parallels.
Mm,
Um, I found that parallels are very enticing for me, and like rainbowing a character is huge.
yeah.
I rainbowed uh High Series Sandman for Marvel Metal because I felt like it had uh sorry, let me turn that on my phone. Sorry about that.
That's all right. You're a popular
Um
man.
one second. Um so yeah, so I felt like it had because it had Spider-Man in there, and I felt like it was attainable versus like going to Rainbow Spider-Man for something.
Mm,
So I went out and did the whole EPAC trading thing, did all kinds of stuff to even try to finish this rainbow. So I got it up to the green. And so that was like more my thing is just maybe rainbowing character or collecting
yeah.
sketches within that set is a big thing for me now. And just I'm a little bits and pieces person. I like to keep
Mm,
it diversified. I like to dabble in a little bit here.
yeah.
I also like to gain something that's worth a good amount of money for trading or to resell to buy a specific type of character or parallel for my collection. So I'm more of
Gotcha.
that type of collector.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, that's interesting. No, I've become I used to be a set chaser and character collector, and I've kind of had to chill out on the set collecting massively. In fact, I'm downsizing still. And so I'm very much like you now with the newer sets. It's like Spider-Man Metal, the only element of that set having gone for base 1 to 100 and got most of 101 to 200, I'm going to be parting with that because I don't need to own it. I mean, it's nice, but I don't need to own
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I've got my most of the black cats from that set now. I haven't gone as low as the green. That's crazy. I just can't afford that. Um, but for that set, for example, the Planet Metal base is my element of that set that I'm going to pursue and complete.
I like the Planet Metals a lot.
Yeah, yeah, they're
Yeah.
very satisfying in hand, and the print quality on them is astonishing. Um,
Yeah.
and so, example, some of the newer sets like Fleer Ultra Avengers, um, I wasn't sure if I was going to get into that. I wasn't really feeling it in any way, so I've kind of backed off. But I'll probably pick up that 9-piece puzzle at some point,
Yeah.
just because it's
Yeah.
cool, just to have something that represents that set in a nice 9-page, doesn't take up too much space. I've kind of got, that as an example of it. And some of the MCU sets, I've just chosen specific images and just chose to rainbow those because it's
That's
just
cool.
fun. Like the
Yeah.
Eternals at the moment, I'm having the best time rainbowing 3 or 4 cards on Eternals. And because no one's opening it, so they're appearing very slowly. So it's great because
Yeah.
it spreads the cost. And even when they are being sold, they're not that expensive because not many people are into that set for some reason. So, which I think is a
Yeah.
shame, but because it is a
Yeah.
very good quality set.
So you're
Um,
into the MCU sets,
yeah,
some of them or
very
most of them.
much so. No, very
Okay.
no. I am. Well, that's the thing. Not really the set. The only set. So my collecting has pivoted massively in the last couple of years, and there is one set that I will probably collect for the next decade or two, and that's Black Diamond.
Yeah.
It is just chef's kisses. It's
Yeah.
absolutely gorgeous. So I'm
It's
gradually
expensive.
picking up. It is
It's
expensive,
expensive.
which is why I'm not doing much else. So exquisites, I'm going after those. I've got
That's cool.
um, about 2/3 of the way on the base. Um, I've got a fair number of the autos. Nothing actually, no, that's the only Chris Evans auto I have is from that set, for example. So yeah, so MCU autos, relics cards is my kind of thing, as well as other non-sport entertainment properties, autos from those. Um, and masterpieces, that's the one thing I'll still set build. So
Yeah.
I've started on 2022, um, but I'm never in a
It's a
rush.
it's a
I'm never
great
in a
set.
rush.
I
It is
I
beautiful.
would say for me lately, for the past 2 months, 3 months, um, I'm definitely more so collecting sketch cards. I would
Yeah.
say sketch cards are, I have my PNGs sitting there. Um, I have vibranium. I have a lot of parallels. I have lucky eights.
Oh, nice. Mm.
I went for those. Like I feel like those are great sets, for the parallels because they have, everybody's addicted to shiny things and
Oh
so
yeah.
they have the foiling that I want, and I
Yeah.
was able to get some tens on a lot of Spider-Man metal grandiose, right? So that was easy, easier to grade, and I was able to. Of course, if you grade, you want to chase the tens, right? It is what it is. That comes from Pokemon and
Mm.
sports, and it's just a habit. Like you want to grade really nice cards because you want to preserve them, you want to put a grade on them.
Yeah.
Marble cards, I realize, you know, outside of a couple of PMGs and a couple of vintage, older PMGs and stuff, collectors they don't really like it's not something that they have to have because like you said there's a lot more set collectors or there are a lot more
Yeah.
rainbow collectors.
Yeah.
They don't care if it's in a slab or not, they just want it for the collection, and I really respect that.
Yeah.
I don't You don't have to put a grade on it to determine value of it. You can still enjoy it for yourself without the
Mm.
slab, which I do admire a lot about
Yeah.
Marvel. But yeah, but lately I just really been into like a sketch card. So I would do a sketch card and try to chase a character within a new set, or if I know a set's up and coming. Um, APs have been amazing this past year for me. Um, I think that when you say like what is the highlight of your collecting uh Marvel cards, with up until this moment, like I have a really good story on that. Like uh I remember, going onto YouTube, reaching out to Matt Fuller, Fausto. There's many podcast shows within this channel that I went back and I looked read. And so the thing about me when I collect is like when I'm into something, I really dive deep into it. Like I
Yeah.
want to know the origins. I want to know previous sets. I want to know even for sneakers, for example. Like I want to know the athlete. I want to know the product. I want to know the brand. Same thing. I apply the same thing to when I went into sketch cards. Like I want to hear what Matt says. I want to hear about what other collector says within the group. I want to
Mm.
ask questions to F booth. Like these are things that I want to know about artists that are out there. And I remember reaching out to this artist that doesn't do Marvel at the moment, but he did a lot for anime. I think you guys talked to him about him briefly on a show. He did it for a Marvel annual. And his this person was named Ecanhoj.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
John Ace
Yeah, that's
backwards.
right. Yeah.
John Ace backwards, but he goes by Ecanhoj. And I remember when I was doing research on his work, I was like, man, I enjoy this work so much. Like the
Mm.
line work is great, but it looks like inverse colors and all of this,
Yeah.
a lot of blacks, but there's hits of colors here and there. And I was like, this is something that I want to collect and pursue. And at the time, I couldn't find any anime cards or I couldn't find any pieces of his work that were like collector characters that I wanted. So I went into his because he wrote cool blogs. Like he would say, "What
That's
is
what I
an
was going to say.
AP?
Yeah. Really
What
good
is his?
blogs.
What are sketch cards?
Yeah.
Like what do I do for Marvel? Like and he would tell you his mood. He would just say like, "Oh, well, I worked on this set, but I wasn't at the best place at the time because of
Mm.
COVID, or I was
Mm.
kind of burnt out of that style at the time, so I switched it up." And I was like, I got to learn about him. So I went on his website and I saw that no AP commissions were available. And I was like, man, this sucks. I want
Mm.
to do one of my first APs, with him. And so I messaged him on his web page and it was like an email, right? And I was like, hey, Ecanhoj, I'm a huge fan of your work. I don't know if you have any APs or you're doing any APs in the future. I would love to do something with you.
Yeah.
And fast forward like 3 months later, I get this Facebook Messenger message because I messaged him on Facebook Messenger and on his on his webpage, and he's like, "Hey, how are you? Thanks for reaching out." And I was like, "Wait, is this Ecanhoj?" Because I haven't heard from him in forever,
Yeah.
you know. And
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, hey, yeah, it's me. I haven't been active on my socials or my pages in a while." Um, he's like, "How can I help you?" And I was like, "Well, it's great to hear back from you because I didn't think you were ever going to message me back. I forgot about you
Mm.
by
Mm.
then." And he was like, "Yeah." And then we were talking for a little bit, and he's like, "Well, I actually have two AP cards from 2019, 2020 when I did a set. Um, and I have these are my last two AP cards available." And I'm like, well, I would love to do some work with you. I know it's 2023 now, but
Yeah.
I would love those cards. And so we worked up a price, and I told him that the first card I wanted was Spider-Man and Black Cat on it, and the second card I wanted Deadpool like holding this massive cannon gun with like just radiance just blasting out of the gun, and he
Wonderful.
just he knocked it out of the park.
Wow.
It's incredible. Like I have these sketches in hand and the line work on the background, like millimeters
Yeah.
separation to show the swirls, to show the details. And I was like, this is why I love AP work, is
Mm.
because I'm paying the artist directly to create this work that they're not spending an hour on a sketch card. They're spending like 8 to 10 hours just to
Yeah.
perfect the sketch card for me because
Hmm.
they feel like you've given them back such patriotism. The least they can do is deliver you something that you
Yeah.
want from them. Not every artist works like that. Some AP artists, they want to do it themselves and they auction it, and that's great because
Mm.
they're just famous by now, or their work speaks for themselves, and they develop such a following. Um, but I tend to like to work more towards the artists that wants to hear me out from a concept, wants to hear about some of the research that I have, send them a couple of references and be like, put your own take and twist into it.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy, like this connection that I've had with a lot of artists lately.
Mm,
That's been the highlight of collecting Marvel cards for me is really art put into sketch cards, put into relationships that has been built with the artist
yeah.
that can always reach out to them again for work in the future, you know.
Yeah. I'm just
And
checking
vice
here.
versa, they
Carry
look
on.
at me as like I think vice versa, they look at me as like a stand-up guy that is willing to pay, you know, to and is collecting art and is reliable and not flaking on them if they worked
Yeah.
all these hours to create something, you know.
Yeah.
So
Um, so obviously the audio version of this has an artist intro at the top. So it seems pretty fitting then that Ecanhoj has his intro at the beginning of this episode.
I would love that. I think that'd be an honor
Yeah,
for
well,
sure if you have that. So
I'll pop him at the top. So for those of you who let me just find his has he got an Instagram? I think he does, doesn't he? Because
it's called
that's right.
Art
Let me
of
just
Ecanhoj, I
yeah,
believe.
let me just have a look because I know I'm yeah, here he is. I knew I'm following him. Right, let's share this. Let's share this so that he can get some love. Um, so here's his page, content creator, formerly Marvel. Small cry because his Marvel work is astonishing. Right, hang on a minute. Could this be what you've just referred to at an earlier
That's right.
stage? Wowzers!
That's right. Those were his the inking right there.
Nice. You're right about the
Yeah.
fact that it's a big ass gun. Look at that.
Yeah,
Crikey.
you got to see it on my page after he puts the color into
Well,
it.
let me. What I'll
The
do is
lighting effects.
I'll flip to it in just one moment.
Okay,
Um,
cool, cool.
but that's his last post. That's 11 weeks ago. So yeah, he's clearly
Yeah,
not as up with his socials, and that's cool. Everyone has a little break. But yeah, I remember when we oh, it's got to be 3 years ago now that we reached out to him if he wanted to like
yeah,
do an intro. And I don't think he could come on, but I think he was cool to do an intro. And because
yeah,
I'd found that blog that you were talking about, and it was just so cool the way he was describing his work, and because he'd been on
yeah.
Premiere, and then he'd been on some sets going back a fair few years, like probably about 10 years, I think was his first set. It was some of the early like phase one
Beginnings, I
MCU
believe.
sets. Yeah, and also I think he was on one of the like the Thor movie or something like that.
Okay.
Um and then yeah, and had a little break and then came back with Premiere and Endgame as well. That's right. So that'll be about the time that we kind of spoke to him and had him on. But right, let's find my goodness me. Now, where am I going to? Let's have a look. There.
You
Ooh,
can go.
there it
Yeah,
is.
there. That's the Deadpool right there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
You must be
it's
thrilled with that.
crazy.
I see Matt's
Yeah, it's
commented.
just.
Matt is the sketch card guru.
And then the black cat's on the top of the page. The black cat I'm the most I just feel like that will never leave me.
There it
Just
is.
because I
Right,
just
okay.
think it's a complete work of art. I
Wow,
mean,
look at
it's
that
just
line work. That's beautiful.
she's just so pretty in this one, her hair and
Yeah, that's cool.
as much as Spider-Man looks great, I think Black Cat here really just
Mm.
takes the show. Just
It's
that's
kind
what
of
I
like
envisioned.
it's a
That
card. Yeah.
style of animation, right?
Yeah.
Black Cat would absolutely look like this, right?
Yeah.
If this was an animation.
It's
So
kind of like a card of her and she's wearing him.
absolutely,
That's what it
I
looks like.
said I want them swinging around, and I want them to grab each other, and this is what I want them to do. Like look like when they look up. You know, this is how they're
Oh,
embracing and
cool.
holding each other. It was kind of like my vision. I didn't say like I wanted web. I didn't say anything like that. I said
Hmm.
if they were to hold each other flying through the city, this what would it look like if they looked at you? And this was what he came up with, and I thought it was absolutely incredible.
No, that's amazing. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. Oh,
yeah,
April 19 and 20. Wowzers. Cool. I love it. I love
yeah,
it. I love it. I love it.
yeah.
So I was going to
So
say, when I was flipping through, because you've got your highlights reel and you got like a for sale thing, and I had a quick look through that earlier on, and it was just like,
yeah, it's old
wow.
stuff. The
Oh
old
no, no,
stuff.
no! But there's some fire in there.
Yeah.
Just some of the stuff that you've got on here. I mean, some of these
We've been
slabs that you've got
going
here. This is
we've been
good.
streaming on whatnot, and the new Marvel masterpieces have been has been amazing.
So how many
I
have you
mean, I just
opened?
we've opened probably, I would say, six boxes so far.
Wow.
Six
Wow.
boxes.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
These aren't personal boxes, unfortunately. I have one sealed right now that's personal that I'm not ready to open yet. I'm
Mhm.
gonna keep it for a little while because I do have some sort of a little bit of a sealed collection. I have some Marvel anime sealed. I have some sets that I just feel like I just want to keep sealed for a while, and I do have one left. I'm still looking for more, but it's kind of hard right now
Mm.
to find anything that's affordable at the moment. And so yeah, we've opened six boxes. I just been absolutely thrilled with the new set. I think Dan
Mhm.
Dos Santos did just, I mean, you can tell when he described how hard he worked and like almost how he went through a breakdown of how
Yeah.
hard he worked. And I was, making comments of saying like the lighting variety this year is incredible.
Oh, yes.
And like I take back everything that I jumped into conclusion on at first, stating that this looks very digital because when I actually saw these cards in hand, I could see the oil
Yeah.
details of these
Yeah.
paintings, and it's just absolutely incredible. And Dan, if you're listening, I think you did an amazing job, and I applaud you for putting this set together from
He's
an art perspective.
Yeah, it's being so well received now that people are breaking out. I got my first taste.
Yes, the what? Yeah, the variant cover. That's a
Yeah,
great one to have.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm not
Yes,
collecting variant covers for this set.
that's great.
But obviously I'm going for as much of a cat rainbow as I can do, and
Our girl
it's
made
just
the
lovely.
box art. Our
I
girl made the box
know,
art.
I know, it's brilliant. I love it, and on the wrappers. I did a
Yeah,
box last week, and it was my first and probably only box. And
yeah.
honestly, it was like Christmas, and I hadn't even opened anything, um, which was great. So, but it's, I mean, I'll be building out base 1 to 81, purple tier 4, base hollow canvas and battle, and that'll be me. I mean, I say it quickly, but it's actually quite a bit of work to build that. I'm gradually picking
I,
up
I
base
I like
cards.
the what if set. I mean, not the
Yeah.
what if, the battle spectrum. I like
Mm,
the battle spectrum.
yeah.
I would definitely, if I were to go to complete like a set, probably would be battle spectrum for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, just even the base color, that Doctor Doom battle spectrum is awesome. To see Doctor Doom
Yeah.
again, just
Yeah.
holding, something and just fighting, I think that's so cool. Like we
Yeah.
haven't seen Doctor Doom in so long.
I know.
And it's just so cool to see Galactus and Silver Surfer.
Mm,
It's just like God, it's one of those sets where you're just like things are just it really came around from a character perspective. I mean, we miss some obviously, but you have to lose some to get to
yeah.
gain some. And I think that
Yeah.
we gained a lot more with the character list this year than just the same characters
Yeah.
every single year for the past, 4 years. So it's just so cool. And it really you can tell the emotions really flew this year. I wasn't able to get any local boxes this year. I don't know if so some of the things that we don't know about, I feel like with a lot of these sports dealers is they have an internal I would say like internal, I guess you can say like how would you describe it? Like it's almost like an internal trading form that they have within each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
And so I just found out that Spider-Man Metal was actually traded that way.
Oh, really?
Like there were actually other dealers buying from other dealers for a set amount per case. And that's how certain shops were flipping and moving theirs so fast because there was another shop that was willing to pay extra money
Oh,
for their
really?
cases.
Okay.
Right. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And I actually had a guy tell me about that. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel Masterpieces happened that way as well this
Mm,
year
mm,
because
mm.
there were so many sought after collectors for it.
Yeah.
And the shops that were into the know knew early on to connect with their internal trading group, like
Gotcha.
dealer trading group,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to possibly buy out a lot of the cases that quote unquote wasn't
Wow.
allocated to the stores, but they're diamond dealers, for
Yeah.
example. So I mean,
Well, I guess
that's
it
just
makes sense. Makes sense.
a I guess it's my conspiracy theory. I don't have confirmation on it, but like I would like to think that man, this set it really brought out. This is my first Marvel Masterpiece physical release set where I
Mm,
was in, just kind of caught up in a lot of the emotions and caught up in a lot of the conversations. Now, I didn't comment a ton, but I definitely read through it and I had my own personal thoughts on if one or should not. And it's pretty unfortunate that people came to some of the decisions they do, and I don't blame them, nor like I see it both ways, and I try to stay in the middle with it to see it both ways as well. Either you want to buy it or you don't.
mm,
But I hate that it kind of drove us apart because one person decided to invest or to buy for their purpose, whether they wanted to sell it, whether they wanted to stream and sell it, whether they wanted to rip a whole case of it on a YouTube stream.
yeah.
I think that it's just their prerogative.
Yeah.
And who are you to tell them how they should or shouldn't? Because you're saying that, oh, because you bought it, you heard it for us because the price would have lowered. I kind of disagree with that because I don't think this product you would see it in your hands at 400 and four hundred
No.
and fifty dollars.
No.
I don't see this being a every 2 year release, and the way that Marvel has grown, and also the attention that it's brought from other markets for people to swarm
Yes.
in to just try to make a profit,
Yeah.
that they that the market could ever, if we didn't buy a single box to on that release week, that David Adams would have bumped it down to
No.
$500. I don't
No.
see that
Because if you
happening.
don't buy it, someone else will, who doesn't feel the same
Yeah,
way. So,
so
it's yeah, I just think it was fortunately, I don't think it was many people, but there were some people who just got very bent out of shape with it, um, for want of a better word, and just
I mean,
just
I understand.
I
At the
get
same
it.
time, I understand
I
they're
get it.
extremely passionate. They might
Yeah.
be those set collectors that they can want to
Yeah.
complete a set and they just can't do it.
Yeah.
Now, what I would say about streams that I've been on this, on these, live streaming buying platforms, I would
Hmm.
say, um, is some people who heavily bought in to those streams are now selling these singles for $2 to $3 a
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah.
So a lot of people bash like apps like Whatnot, but what they don't realize is the same people who buy things that they don't know what they're buying, they're also selling it because they're trying to. It's just the same thing as the group.
Yeah.
They just want to sell a whole lot for $20, and they
Yeah.
might not know that a card within there is worth $20. It's the same thing with these live streaming platforms. Is you can possibly finish a set if you're patient and just wait probably about another year, let EPAC
Mm.
come out and just start to say
Less than
like,
that.
I actually finished a set in under $300,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
finally completed and put the
Yeah.
last card in the binder, and it's just that want to finish it now maybe is what really
I
drove
think so.
them to
I
be
think so.
upset.
Yeah, I think so. Look, I feel it as well. I'm holding back because I can't bring myself to spend 30, 40 for a battle spectrum base
Yeah,
because I know
yeah,
that once EPAC is done and it's all sold out, you'll be able to pick them up, a lot of them for between 5 and 15 on ComC. Now that won't be
yeah,
forever, but there's a point, and I know that this happened with Masterpieces 18, it happened with Masterpieces 20, it's happened with other sets. There's a point at which it reaches the maximum amount of stock, like out on EPAC and out on ComC, where the
right,
prices kind of bottom out. And then it will start lifting. So if you go back and look at 28, I remember Masterpieces 2018, there was a point where you could get Mirages for between $30 and $50.
wow,
Do you see what I mean? That
yeah,
was when it went to there, and ever since then, especially 2018, it's kind of maturing like a fine wine. You know, that fine wine that you were
Yeah,
saving for a special occasion that we talked about in your
yeah,
intro.
that's
It's one
right.
of those because people are kind of like looking at 2018 now without just the lens of comparing it to 2016. They now have 2020 to look at and 2022. And you see the beauty of masterpieces with the different
I mean,
styles and
it's
the
just
different, and they kind of
insane.
complement each other, but they're different to each other. And when
Oh
you look
yeah,
at it across the DNA of masterpieces and these artists, that some of them have worked together, some of them haven't, some of them know each other, like
right.
Dave and Dan know each other really well. And it's just that it's a very elite club. And when you look at their works
I
side by
know,
side,
so prestigious.
and I got to give a little shout out to Greg Dawson, who started something that's been doing the rounds on Instagram
Oh,
and
the Greg
Facebook, the
challenge,
Greg Challenge, where it's like, and he hasn't intended it for people to vote as to which they think is best, because that's
right?
subjective and possibly divisive. But it's just to compare. Okay, here's the 2016, 2018, 2020, and 2022 Spider-Gwen, for example, or Spidey, or Wolverine, or whatever character it may be. Um, and just to show the compare, and some people have gone back further and included like almost every year of Masterpiece that the character has been in, and that's
Yes,
fascinating to see.
it's
Um,
awesome.
and I haven't been able to do it yet because I only received this yesterday. It's my first physical Black Cat, but it's coming. Um, I'm guessing you'll be Spidey if you were going to do that. But do you own? Because Spidey's, apart from 2020, Spidey was tier 4 in 2016 and 2018. Did you ever go
Yeah.
that far with the masterpieces Spideys? Did you go for those at
No,
all?
no, 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 no. For Spider-Man, for me, it's just I have to be accepting and selective because it's like Spider-Man. It's Venom for me. I like Psylocke. I like Black Cat's more obtainable. Or maybe I'll pick Green Goblin as a villain. That's
Yeah,
but for Spider-Man, being a Spider-Man collector, like I can't be up there like Eugene. Like it's just like it's not
it's hard
really in.
work.
I don't have that in me yet. Like I don't have the access and the funds yet, and I will one day. And that's just why I enjoy my Spider-Man sketches so much.
Yeah,
It's just because for me, I just feel like that's a little bit more attainable than
yeah.
because masterpieces for me, I love 92, right? Like 92 masterpieces
Hmm.
is probably, my favorite card set of all time. But
Hmm.
like this modern day masterpieces, um, is such a elite, like prestigious set that like I like almost like admire. I don't want the one of one spectrum, like, but I just sit there and I admire. I'm like, yo, respect to that guy. Like,
Yeah,
respect to that. Respect to John. Like, having an amazing 2016 set. Like these little things where I just feel like I give flowers to the people that really went in on it because
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think at this point a year and a half into Marvel that I could go back and complete a 2016 anything from Juice
mm,
Go,
mm,
right?
mm,
And
mm.
2018 is beginning to be that as Simone blowing up on his social media and his art.
Yeah.
And Dave is amazing, right? He did crazy. Like if you like that style art, Dave is your one for that one. So
Mm.
it's tough. Like it's tough, but it's great to have some of the like I have some legendary what is it legendary what was
Orange?
it orange,
Hmm.
but it was from Beta Ray Bill. I love that art.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like I love that art, right? So like maybe Beta Ray would be like my character in 2018 or something, but
Mm.
it's just it's just like I can't pick Spider-Man because it's just to me too hard to at this point to really in like buy
Yeah,
or trade for.
yeah.
But
I mean, if you're going for the high end stuff, then yeah, absolutely. But there's no
yeah,
shortage of cards to go for. But I think with any of those characters like Spidey, Wolverine, Captain America, I'd say, and possibly a few
oh
female
God,
characters, if you're a character collector going after those at the high end, it's like doing the hobby on video games, they have the insane mode.
Yeah,
It's
insane
like
mode.
doing the hobby on insane mode.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've
It's
got
playing
a
like
lot of
Guitar
respect for
Hero on
people who can
insane
do that.
mode.
Yeah, is that what it is? Right, okay. I'm more of a
Oh,
Halo man myself, so I can't remember what the hard level is on that. Yeah, mainly because I always die straight away. But so yeah, I've got a lot of respect for that. I had three red Spectrums from 2018 at one point.
wow,
I didn't pull them. I acquired them at what, in retrospect now, is insane prices. Like three, 400. Um, I had Wonder Man, and I had almost a full rainbow of that.
wow,
Because I had the red spec. I had a two printing plates, one of each base and what if, and then all the others. I didn't have the preliminary art, although I know the collector that owns that. I've since moved that on, and I also had the red spectrum of Vulcan at one point, and I also had the red spectrum of another character, and for the life of me, I can't remember who it was. Um, anyway, I mean, they're stunning, and I'll always have that I owned them at one point.
hmm
And I would never, I'm very comfortable with the fact that I'll never own the red spectrum of Black Cat from Masterpieces 2016 or from
hmm
Masterpieces 2020 or from Masterpieces 2022 because it's out of my league and price
Yeah.
bracket to do so.
That's the
Um,
where I am too.
and
Yeah,
you can't you'll drive yourself nuts if you sit there thinking, oh, why can't I get, why, oh, yeah, if only I could,
yeah.
because otherwise, just like, well, it's short of winning the lottery, you're not
Would
going to
the
be able to do it.
would the auto be a part of the rainbow too? Then did you have the auto, or
No,
do
and
you consider that a part of the rainbow?
well, well, that's the thing. Um, there is, we did an episode on rainbows during COVID year, Nguyen and I, and in
Okay.
that, I remember us talking about the fact that a rainbow, I think, can be as far as you want to go with the card. So, for example,
Yeah.
with Masterpieces 2016, I have the base, the what if, the gold sig, the purple of Black Cat. I still don't have the orange, but the orange will be as far as I go on that because the plate and
Yeah.
or sign just go SSA for that set is over my value threshold for a single card.
Yeah.
So, I'm very much, aware of that. There was a Black Cat plate that came on for 2022 recently, in the last week, and it was $700, and it sold at $700. Seven
I
hundred
saw the
dollars.
blue one yesterday. I saw the
Uh,
blue one pulled yesterday.
oh, has it been? Ah,
Yeah.
right.
Yep. On a stream, it was pulled yet last night
Um,
with
and listen,
cyan.
I would love one of each. I'd love a base one. I'd love a what if one, which is what I've got for 2020. But that's
Yeah.
more than I'm prepared to pay for any single card, I think. Unless
Yeah.
it's, I just think, I think of what I could do and or what else I could buy with that money, either in the hobby or, for my family,
Yeah.
or, do a short break with the wife and kid. When I think of it in those terms, I can't do it. 400 is probably my ceiling on single
Yeah.
cards. And very, very rarely have I veered outside of that. Um, and I'm kind of aware of that and I'm okay with it because I know that I
Yeah.
get myself into financial difficulties if I stretch goal it. So I don't do it.
Who Ian, who do you think the top three characters are for this year's masterpieces, in your opinion? Like, I'm talking about from a perspective of like people pulling it super hyped and then they move it on the market because that's been happening a lot lately.
Yeah, I think,
Like, especially what I've noticed is
mm,
they'll ask a question in the group, it'll
yeah.
raise some questions, and then all of a sudden,
Oh, there's a few of
anybody,
them.
somebody's
Yeah,
like, "Hey, if you ever want to sell it, please reach out to the group or please reach out to me, right?" And then all of a sudden, the next day, I'll see the damn card on eBay. I'm like, "Come on, guys! Like, you didn't even like want to just help the group out to like help a collector out. You want to move it onto eBay." But anyways, I was just saying, like, who do you think the top three characters are?
in terms of heat and demand, well, Spidey's up there because there's a few Spidey folk in the hobby.
Yeah,
Gambit is always very popular. and I think people are digging his card in this set. I don't necessarily the hottest, but I think there's quite a few people going after him. Wolverine
Oh
remains
my God.
popular, and I can say that from personal experience because I pulled a green
Yeah.
gallery Wolverine. Um, and I mean, it's the usual suspects.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Spidey, Wolverine, Cap, um,
Venom. Venom.
Venom. Yeah,
Venom
Venom
kind of
definitely.
thing.
Yeah, and you know what? I think I'd probably have the same conversation, whatever set. The thing that I liked about 2020 was that they had the courage to mix up the tier four, which
Yeah.
made which made those characters more accessible to other collectors. So I'm a little bit disappointed that they've gone back to formula with tier four. Um,
Yeah.
that said, you've got some good characters in like Wasp. I think Dan's Wasp is just brilliant. I love the
Yeah.
execution of it.
It's underrated.
Yeah, the Thanos is stunning. Thanos
Yeah.
actually,
I don't see that one too often either. I'm telling
yeah,
you. Thanos
yeah,
is short. I feel like it doesn't come out much. Maybe it's
yeah.
gonna all come out in the E-Pack or
I,
something,
I,
but
I think so. A lot comes out in the EPAC wash, but mind you, you say that a
yeah.
lot. I was saying that about the other plates for Masterpieces 2020. I mean, to this day, because I track whether they've been seen or not, whether or not I own
Yeah.
them. Or, on my
Yeah.
Black Cat spreadsheet, I track.
Yeah.
Have I seen it? So I know it's out there. And I think of all the 8 plates that were out for 2020, I think I've only seen 3 of them and I own 2 of those.
Oh wow.
So, and this is, so they're out there, but they never popped up openly on EPAC. If they were pulled, they locked
Yeah.
straight away, or they're in a sealed box somewhere, or whatever. This is fine.
Did
Um, but no, it's interesting. I love the Thanos from 2020. I think Dave Palumbo's Thanos is one of his strongest works in that
hmm
set. So I think it's brilliant how strong Dan DeSantis Thanos is well deserving of a tier four. This set, I'm finding it fascinating because now that the set is out, that 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 kind of period where there was a lot of volatility with people having strong feelings about the price point, almost as soon as the product started breaking, that seems to have just gone because now the overwhelming thing is people's joy at how much they're enjoying the product.
Yeah. I'm so glad
Which is
for that
brilliant.
for Dan.
Mm,
Like for Dan more than Upper Deck. I'm so glad for Dan because I'm sure
yeah,
Dan had a lot of, and I don't want to speak for him, but I'm sure he had a lot of excitement, yet anxiety,
yeah,
yet,
yeah,
the week of prices being announced, like
yeah,
just all this, I guess you can say like extra noise that took it away from the art,
mm,
really. And he went on a lot of different channels and just like kind of just kept describing the art and kept true to what he
yeah,
knew about the product.
yeah,
And that's how he was like extremely passionate about it
mm,
because he could only tell you about the art and what he did for the art for the cards.
yeah,
He couldn't tell you one thing about the productions thing. He never mentioned anything about the MSRP pricing. Nothing like that. Because you know why? That wasn't that wasn't
it's nothing
anything
to do
that
with him.
he was involved in.
Yeah,
And you know what? And then now people were just raving, and I will
mm,
continue to rave about how well he did. And I think that he deserves uh more than what everything because the set wouldn't be where it is without him
mm,
choosing the specific art for each
yep,
character. And um the only thing is like I would say is like the choice of how they zoomed in on some of the art. I possibly would have done it different. For example, some of the
yeah,
battle spectrums, and if that battle spectrum had the opposing character too small, maybe I would ask Dan to try a different version of it or something so we can try to play around with the foiling
yeah.
if I was on Upper Deck's, concept team. But at the same
Or
time,
the
like
art
that
director.
that's not going to
Mm.
take away from what I overall think about the set, which I think is
Yeah,
absolutely. Let's say for the top three characters is I would question, like I would even like put a debate out there if Wolverine is as big as Spider-Man this year. Because people are like, I pulled the 1 of 50 what if Wolverine,
Hmm.
right? For on my whatnot channel the other night. And as soon as I pulled that and posted that, I think I got about 20, almost 19 to 20 messages on the DM of, are you selling that card? Like it was that important to these collectors
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
have and obtain that card. And I would say
yeah.
Wolverine is definitely one or two for sure. And
Mm.
I didn't realize how strong Wolverine had a following
Oh
up
yeah.
until like maybe it's a masterpieces thing as well. Like they were like really out to get this card from me,
Yes.
but it wasn't mine. So, but
Mm.
yeah,
That's interesting.
it was pretty interesting. Yeah,
That's
pretty
interesting.
interesting.
What's your regardless of the kind of desirability of it, of the cards that you've seen coming out from Masterpieces 2022, which are the artworks or the cards that you personally have just enjoyed the most, even if it's kind of a C-list kind of level character?
I really enjoyed Ghost Rider. I
Mm.
love the Scarlet Witch. I want to actually try the rainbow. Like you maybe talked about how I collect.
Yeah.
I'm looking right now currently, and I'm waiting patiently for various different Scarlet Witch variants because I want to collect that art.
Mm.
Um, and I really like the battle spectrum of obviously Spider-Man and uh
Is it Goblin?
Venom. I like the Doctor
Oh
Doom.
yeah. Mm.
No, the battle spectrum of
Yeah, that's right.
Spider-Man versus Venom,
Hmm.
battle spectrum of Doctor Doom. I like. I love the magic card since it's so the color pops on it like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
crazy. Um, I'm sorry, was it Magic or Kitty? Was it Kitty Pride?
Oh, the
The
Kitty
one with
Pride
the
and Lockheed
dragon.
with the blue. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yes,
stunning.
that one is
That's
so
stunning.
stunning. Um, I like that one. I love the Spider-Man. I love that he did that type
That
of
Ghost Rider
rendition
you were
of the
talking
art.
about.
Oh my God, I love that. It just has a to me it has like an own rendition of a Juiceco vibe for me on that
Mm,
one. It was just like
mm.
so cool. Ghost Rider just looks
My
the
camera's terrible, but
concept of
that
Ghost Rider
pops
is
so much. It's
great.
so vibrant. I
Yeah,
mean, all of his art is vibrant. It's
yeah.
just astonishing. Um,
Um, I'm you know what? I'm not as much of a fan as Jubilee as some people are a fan
Sorry,
of the
that made me
Jubilee.
laugh as I was scrolling through. Of
That dupe
course,
is
I'd pull that.
amazing.
Of course, I'd pull that base from my
That dupe is
box. That's
amazing.
so funny. Yeah,
Yeah,
that dupe is dope. Yeah, no,
yeah. This is
Jubilee.
the
I,
Scarlet Witch right here, and I just absolutely just think that this is
snap.
great, great
Mm,
art. Yeah, I mean, it looks great.
it is really,
A
really
Moon
strong.
Knight looks good.
Yeah,
I
we got
love
Moon Knight.
Daredevil and Electro. I love that he used like black background painting, but you could see
Mm,
like little rain dots. I love that.
that's
I
a
mean
really good one.
that. I mean, it's just that's a painting right there. Like
Yeah,
that's incredible. I just thought it was so cool. I do like the depth perception of various different characters as well this
yeah,
year. They're not just
yeah.
all mid to, close up shots of them.
No,
It worked
there's
for
some really
some.
fine stuff. I mean, I've only got one battle spectrum so far, because this is the one I pulled, and it's Thor versus Hela, and Hela's just such a gnarly looking character.
Yeah, Hella's great. I
Um,
mean,
but the quality of
that,
these, just in terms of the foiling, is just
yeah.
phenomenal.
They
I mean,
did a
it
great
always is.
selection of the characters, I feel like as well. The
Yeah,
Iron Man and Hulk one is awesome. I
I don't
saw
think I've
that in a
seen that
red.
yet.
I saw that in the red the other day. It looks
Wow.
so good. Like Hulk is just massive, just looking down on Iron Man, and you can tell that they're just like going
Yeah.
at it, and it just looked amazing. This is the Ultron
Oh, that's
and
nice.
Vision right here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for the Avengers fans out there, it's just like the character selections were really, really good this
Yeah.
year. I thought it
No,
was.
they are cool.
Um,
I tell you what I like. What I like is the fact that I still haven't seen all the artwork.
yeah,
Because I'd like. I mean, I could scroll through eBay and probably see most of it, but
Yeah,
especially on the battle, I haven't seen them all yet. I'm very comfortable waiting until I can get it in hand and properly look at it,
that's
rather than
cool.
look
That's a
at
good
it, you know.
idea.
So,
Yeah.
which is unusually restrained for me, but that's kind of my rather chill approach to things this year, um, because it
I
has
feel
to
like
be.
me and you are the same. I've been a little bit more chill lately in collecting and just letting things kind of, if it comes to me, it comes to me.
Yeah,
I just, if not, then I'm gonna save up until, E-pack, or save up until buy some
yeah,
singles and just like complete this battle spectrum
yeah,
parallel set. And it's just like I'm not trying to. I went after a lot of boxes because obviously I want to break the boxes, but
yeah,
like at the same time, I was able to buy the Santa sketch from the profits of me opening boxes, and I
yeah,
went after the things that I want to go after, and I
yeah,
will patiently wait to finish, hopefully a different color of the battle spectrum. But that's what would be one of my goals of the set is,
yeah.
and just continue to open it. So I've probably seen most of the art set just by we are access to a little bit more streams
Mm.
and people just ripping so much. I would say that I was going to ask you, do you think this is the most documented Marvel masterpieces in terms of ripping and seeing the physical? Like, I've seen so many physical hits that are like one of ones and things that I didn't quite see. If you go back and, YouTube or Google search like 2016 Marvel Masterpiece opening, there's only a
Oh,
handful of them.
2016, you didn't have it at all. I mean, I tell you
And
the big
then
difference. Sorry, carry on.
I was just saying the documentation and like the media that you see now
Yeah.
from this new set is just completely changed, and you get to see a lot more.
Well, there's a few things. I mean, 2020 was pretty well documented. I've still got quite a lot of. I started saving them to watch later, and as is my life, I don't have time to watch all this content. I don't even have time to watch all the content on the group. But on my Facebook thing, you can save posts. So I started saving card videos. So they're actually all there. Loads of people did card videos on the Facebook group of 2018 box opening.
Okay,
Loads of
okay,
people did them on the Facebook group of 2020. Now, the thing is with 2020 is that people were starting to do stuff online as well. But
hmm,
if you go now, there's 10, 20x the number of content creators doing that than there were when Masterpieces 2020 came out. So from that point of view, yes, there's you can go and quite happily watch. I don't have the time, I barely have the time to watch and rewatch this and edit it to put it out. And because of the fact that I'm doing that, I'm not watching someone else's content because I'm busy producing this. I've only got
yeah,
so much time.
yeah,
I can't sit there, of an evening with my wife and just watch content on my phone. It's not
yeah,
conducive to a happy marriage. So, I
yeah,
can't do that. And I don't really watch it with the kid because I want her to be doing stuff and not just glued to a phone. So, um, but it's out there. So if you want it, you can go and watch. I absolutely shed loads of stuff. There's some people stuff I'll have on in the background, when I'm working, but I usually can just listen to it because if I'm watching it, I'm not working, and that tends to get me
hmm,
into trouble with the boss. But yes, you're right. There's loads out there, and you can for the people that, and I've seen a few people commenting as such in group. You might not be able to afford it, but you can live vicariously through the
yeah,
joys of social media. You can open up. Oh,
yeah.
my squealing starting because I've got bids coming in because all my items are about to end. My phone's just going beep beep.
Let's go, let's go, let's
Yeah,
go.
more card money, more card money. Thank you.
Yeah,
But yeah, it is good. But that's the problem with the Facebook group is that all that content is still on there. I mean, MCCW's probably got hundreds of thousands of posts, and a good two,
that's
three
all.
hundred of those might be people where they've live streamed on Facebook the opening of 2018, but you can't find it because it's really difficult to find stuff on a group
Right.
unless you know what you're
It's
looking
not
for.
categorized.
You can't do
Right.
that. I mean, before Facebook took it away, you could tag posts. And
Yeah.
why Facebook took this away, I don't know. But I must have tagged easily five-figure volumes of posts in the 2 years I was doing it. And I could say to people, "Oh yeah, if you want to look for that, just look for this hashtag," and I kept
Yeah.
it fairly tidy. You can't do that now because even that's gone. So it's just like Facebook, make your platform slightly less user friendly so that people will go and do it on other streams. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds like a good business decision. Um, Talk to me quickly about Whatnot because I'm not a Whatnot person at all. I know people do it. I want you to explain to me what it is and how it works, as if I don't know anything about it, as if you've just met me in the street and I'm like, what not? What now? Because I'm almost at that point. I know people can do live sales on there, but without having the time that I mentioned to be able to watch the streams, and I that the app is now available to me in the UK, but I can't
Yeah.
watch anything on there without signing up to the platform. And just because I'm
Yeah.
a fussy
Yeah.
bastard, I'm not going to give you
Yeah.
my details and give you my information unless you show me a
Yeah.
little bit of what I'm giving up to it. So tell me about Whatnot and how you use it and what you would
Okay.
do, how you approach it.
Yeah. So I mean, first of all, I want to start off me describing whatnot is I would say that, you know, it has various different perceptions. I will explain this to you all as a neutral way as possible. I'm not here to promote this application. It could be any application I do anything
Yeah,
on, but I just want to I'll tell you about this application. So,
yeah.
Whatnot is a live selling platform. They're currently also doing this on rival companies called Drip now, and also on TikTok as well. TikTok Live is also doing
Oh wow.
a live,
Okay.
and then eBay, I believe, is doing it now. So they've taken Whatnot was kind of like one of the originators of the concept
Hmm.
of pretty much taking like a YouTube stream or an Instagram stream and how we used to buy packs or buy
Yeah,
boxes on there and pay via PayPal, get an order in and
gotcha.
manage it through that. They've taken that whole concept of kind of like live shopping and bidding into an application. So you have to
Gotcha.
sign up, you have to build a profile, you have to put a form of payment in, and you've created your own profile. And now what you do is Whatnot sells things that are collectibles. They sell things that are clothes. They sell things that are, Funko cards. They started off with mainly cards, trading cards like Pokemon and sports, and during the pandemic, and then soon after that, they really blew up as an application because
Mm,
people used to stream on various other platforms like these social media platforms and manage it that way to buy cards during the pandemic to sell them, right? So
gotcha.
Whatnot just basically took that concept and said, how about we do it for anything and everything? And they can buy it without having to go bid on something physically or go shop and buy something, buy it now physically. And so we're mixing a bit of eBay
Mm,
slash the live entertainment aspect of what those old social media platforms were doing. And we're putting into one application and charging a set percentage fee for every one of those sales. Does that
gotcha.
make sense?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So Whatnot started that way. And what I think what made it take off is like, I mean, of course, like if you hit quote unquote bangers, it's cool, right? But it's really like the development of personalities, right? Like Billy with Watch Me Open and
Hmm.
various different other breakers that I see. It's just the excitement in the show that they put on that people buy into, wanting to be a part of. And that's what I did. I mean, I'll be honest
Mm,
with you. I spent a ton. I am active on that app just as much as and I don't sell much anymore because I'm part. I have a career now, so I don't do it every day. But there's people that are on there do it every day. They work hard. It's not easy.
yeah,
You think a lot of people have a misconception of Whatnot, thinking like, oh, well, anybody can turn on their camera and sell a card for 3x the number. trust me, it is not that easy,
Mm.
right? To develop a following like that, to charge double a card or to even, and yes, there are people that sound like absolute used car salesmen, and it makes me sick how they break some of the cars. No, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
It makes me
No, I've just got
sick
this image. Yeah.
on how they develop a concept to break a card, to break a box, and what they hype and sell. So what part of
Really.
my whatnot streams is when a customer asks me like, "Oh, I've never hit that before. What do you think? What do you think this 1 of 50 Wolverine's gonna be?" For example, the other day, right? There's the chat's going crazy, giving them numbers, and my response is, listen, I can't tell you what I think it's worth, but just please know that you got the alpha of the variant cover of Wolverine, and this is one of the most sought after cards in the set. So
Yeah.
you take that as you will and do your research, but I would not let it go for what I wanted to let go for. And that was my response. And I feel like, yes, every breaker should have a responsibility not to do that. But like, you come to my shows for honesty. You come to my shows because I have a soothing voice, for example, right? Or you come to my show because we hang out and I pull great cards and we talk about it and we enjoy it. That's why I
Yeah.
want you to come to my shows. I don't want you to come to my shows thinking that, hey, Andrew told me that this $100 card's worth $500, so that's what I'm gonna list it for on eBay and I'm setting the market. That's
Yeah.
not what I generate how I generate revenue on whatnot. It's more so of like if everybody in the Facebook group or everybody who was opposed to whatnot understood that the same people that are buying these cards from fellow streamers is they are collectors too. Some
Mm.
collect vintage, some collect vintage. They just only want to rip when 95 metal comes Marvel metal comes out, right? They only want to rip when a certain product comes out.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to rip something when Marvel Masterpieces comes out, right? That's just what it is.
Yeah.
And so it's just like there's an extreme misconception, and it's a lot of a couple ruins it for all. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like a
Mm.
couple of bad apples ruins it for everybody type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I hate that and I don't really like I'm not here to defend the application. I just defend that people think that this app is such a scam. It doesn't have to be a scam. You don't have to go in there and buy anything on there. You can go in there and watch. Like I have a friend
Mm.
who went in there and watched 5 hours of whatnot streams for Marvel Masterpieces a couple of weeks ago, and he was satisfied. He said, "Oh, it was great, to see what was pulled there. You put on a great show." And I was like, "Dude, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for chatting. Like, thanks
Mm.
for being my friend for that hour and a half and being positive and like rooting people on because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
we pulled something awesome together. Like we pulled a 1-on-1 miles play on the stream, and the
Nice.
the stream went crazy. And like, yes, I get these chills just as much as the person who bought it or the chat because it's just amazing to me. Yes, I could have domed 6 of those boxes of myself, but I would be in the boat of breaking that box open, and then you would see a sales post from me on the group or eBay, and I would try to recoup my funds because I've already collected whatever I wanted to collect it out of
Yeah.
the set.
Yeah.
To me, that's just very like, yes, do it, you did it, and then you try to recoup.
Yeah.
This one's more like, hey, y'all, let's have a good time together. Do you want to have a pack of this box? Because you can. If you do, I promise you it'll be a great show. And even
Mm.
if you don't, that's fine. Because because when you first start whatnot, you first start to be a streamer. I'm gonna be honest with you. You go in there, you over plan. You think it's like, oh my God, like we're gonna give like 6 giveaways, and I'm gonna sell $3,000 that day. I'm gonna tell you something. It's hard to go in
Mm.
there and just convince people to say like you're a cool dude. You're gonna be, you're gonna have a good time on this stream.
Yeah.
You have to develop that type of
Yeah.
show and relationship with people. It's
Yeah.
not easy. So I just wanted to kind of get that out there, and people can think they want what they want about streamers and whatnot and stuff like that. But I just know that who I am as a streamer. I know who a lot of the people that I look like kind of like have looked up to like within the space, and some are gone now. And I'm just doing it mainly right now on new releases. I don't typically do like a singles or anything. I just mainly do it on new releases just to make sure that I keep up with the app and just make sure that I reconnect with the people that just have supported me and
Yeah.
have been around for since the beginning, which was like a year and a half ago. And it's just a chance to catch up with them outside of Instagram because not everybody has Instagram.
Yeah.
And not everybody's a member of the MCCW group. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's why I do it. And it's really thrilling. And
Cool.
if I can, how you felt about when you pulled the green Wolverine and how you open your boxes on live, like just imagine knowing that somebody had invested into you to pull something like that and you paid them back tenfold.
Mm.
And it's just like, to me, it feels like you gave a lot to that person and they'll always thank you for that.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, it's just that thrill and excitement of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like that about it,
So
you
in that
know?
example, just let's go back to that miles plate, just so that I understand the mechanics of it, because like I said, I
Yeah.
can't rewatch it because I'm not on the platform, although, and
Okay.
I don't even know if I could. So if I signed up today, gave them my credit card number, created a profile, whatever it is I
Yeah.
need to do, could I go and watch your old streams? Do they exist
You
there as
could.
content? Right. Okay.
You can now. They recently just did that update, but you
Okay.
can't see the bidding activity. Like you can't see what was sold for. You only could see like the show and it would be kind of like a blank screen. Like so you don't see that
You don't see
activity
the
that's
comments and
happening
all
with
that
it.
sort of stuff.
No, they don't
Okay.
put that on. They should, but they don't put that on there where
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
go back and see. So you have to see that stuff, the commenting and the bidding and the buying
Alive. Yeah.
actually on the live screen. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
get that
Stream.
because they want to save that as part of the experience for people,
Right.
and make it a bit special.
Right.
So I kind of understand that. So for that plate, that miles plate, so does that person has that person kind of bought a pack, if you like, from you? Have you sold the
So
pack unopened? Is that how that works? Or
yeah, so there's two scenarios, right? You can do a buy it now or you can do an auction bid,
I'm with you.
right? So the previous box, we did an auction bid for 12 packs. So each pack was ran each time. We opened a pack, kept running it, opened a pack. Those are called like just live auctions.
Yeah.
And so one of my guests came in, he won one of my giveaways because a part of a giveaway is like you can have discounted shipping because I'm already shipping you something. So
I'm with
that's
you.
another way for a seller to say, do a giveaway because you know whatnot just wants you to spend money as well, like just for as a seller. So they're like,
Hmm.
do a giveaway. So that I have to pay for shipping for that. And so I do it because I do it anyways.
Yeah.
And so one of the streamers came, one of the customers came in. He won a giveaway, and he said, "I want to buy it now. I like, are you selling any boxes whole? Because I had three boxes to stream that day." And he said, "Are you? I would like to buy one now." And I was like, "Well, I wasn't really going to do that today because I want to kind of like take our time and enjoy the product."
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
knew this guy, and I said, "For you, I'll give you a whole box at a buy it now price." So that's a buy it now, very similar to eBay.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
set a price for him for buy it now, and he bought the box. And I said, "Congratulations, everybody! Like, please root, this customer on.
Gotcha.
He's got a whole box for X amount of money, and we're gonna root him on, and we're gonna break this whole box." So we did. We did,
Nice.
and on the eighth pack, we pulled the miles plate, and we
Ah.
went absolutely insane.
Does the camera get all shaky with everyone just getting really
It
excited?
it
Was it
was
like this?
incredible. Yeah, it was just like
Crowd goes
it was
wild.
upside down. It was
Yeah.
purple, magenta color, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" Right? Because upside down, it was like didn't see anything.
Yeah.
And then I yanked it off, and I was like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe we hit one of
Wow.
the like the craziest plates." And so so the next box we went back to the auction. So you can take your pick. You can also like fill a break
Hmm.
prior, so you can auction off 12, like the one that I hit the Wolverine on the other day. I ran 12 auctions and I tried to fill the break 12 spots before I broke, because there's a risk to the streamer as well, right?
Yeah.
If you go pack by pack and people know what the box hits are and you hit that in the first three packs,
Yeah.
what do you have left as a streamer to
I'm
sell a
with you.
pack?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, people are going to say, "Oh, well, you should sell it for what it's worth." Well, what is it worth? Because Upper Deck didn't set the
Yeah.
MRS,
Yeah.
like they didn't set the
Yeah.
retail price. So like, I don't know what that's worth.
No.
But typically a person likes to at least have their investment back into it to make their money back, right?
Yeah.
And so you could either break by packs, which I've done, and it's been a hit or miss, or you can fill the break, which is 12 spot at a
Hmm.
consistent
Hmm.
price, and then you break the box and then you allocate the packs.
Oh, I'm with you.
Or
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can, yeah, or Ian could buy a whole box for me at further of a discounted price, because he's willing to buy it now at a full price versus
Gotcha.
just
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
part. And there's some people that are customers that just want to go in there and buy 2 packs a box. There's some people in there that wants to buy half the box because they don't want to buy
Mm,
one at MSRP. So they just want bits and parts of a product.
I'm with you.
And that's why they call it breaking, is they only want to break that part of the
Of course.
product up. And that's kind of what I've learned from it.
Wow. Oh, it sounds like a lot of work. I tell you the interesting thing is I like I said, I don't really have any conceptions about it whatsoever. Yeah, I know people use it, and yeah, I never really understood it as well as I've learned in the last 10 minutes. So thank you for that. Um, but all I know is that all of a sudden, people who I was seeing breaking stuff just disappeared. And it's like, where are they? I was enjoying watching them do
Yeah.
stuff when I could catch it, and of course they were on whatnot. And it was like they were in some gated community that I couldn't be a part of because at that time it
Yeah.
wasn't available for us in the UK.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But yeah, it is now, and I've kind of like yeah, I've kind of forgotten about it a bit. But
Yeah,
um,
it's not for everyone. I mean, I'll say this again. I believe when you want to take a risk like that,
mm,
when you want to take a risk on
mm,
like EPAC, all of this is forms of
yeah,
just taking a gamble, right?
yeah,
And
of
so
course, yeah,
I would highly, you don't, if you're buying anything with products like this, everything is gambling.
well, it is, isn't
You're
it?
just
Yeah,
taking a risk.
yeah,
And so just please know that you're please, when you go into it,
yeah,
just try to take a set, be responsible about it, and just know
yeah,
that this is seriously what you want to do, because you can
yeah,
really get caught up in it.
yeah.
And
No, it is.
I really I highly just kind of advocate that, like, during, and just when I'm about to buy something myself, I just like know
Mm,
that,
mm,
come on, like, to know that I'm gonna 10x something is just not the ideal situation, but I
yeah,
want to own some of the product.
yeah,
So
yeah. No, that's fascinating. I love that there's so many different ways you can kind of put that content out and enjoy it as well at the moment. So I'm really
yeah.
glad that you've been enjoying that. Do you do anything on YouTube or is it just whatnot? You're kind of
No, I don't have time. I've been pretty busy just with my
yeah.
life. We're trying to start a family too, and
Ah,
yeah, so I thought about that. Outside of Instagram, like, I feel like Instagram is just kind of my thing. I'll run some scans, I'll do some reels.
mm,
Um, but like, props to like Josh, for example, Marvel Madness MCU, he works hard. He has 5 kids and
I
he
honestly
still
don't
puts
know
out
how some of these
content.
people find the time.
I'm gonna be on
Honestly.
his show pretty soon. I'm pretty excited just to
Oh,
kind of
cool.
support him. I know
Yeah.
he's a good dude. He's real positive, and like, and shout out to everybody else making content, just because I know how much work it could be put in. If I
Mm,
really wanted to do it, I really could, but I just feel like this kind of space for me to just kind of dive in here and there and meet
mm,
people and talk to people. And like, I much rather spend 2 hours having a conversation with you
Yeah,
versus
yeah.
2 hours on a 2 minute video of content. I just feel like just developing relationships are
Mm,
pretty is
mm,
more so like on my like I guess vibe of collecting and meeting
yeah,
people, you know.
yeah. Well,
So
while you've been describing all this to me, my eBay auctions have been going absolutely crazy. So I
yeah,
will be able to afford those
congrats,
auctions that are ending this evening.
congrats.
Well, I hope to be able to afford them, but you never know. There's always someone else bidding against you who has
I
different
know.
ideas. But the thing is, because a lot of the stuff that I bid on ends overnight. So I have to
Yeah,
use those bidding apps, the ones where
yeah. Oh, that's
and I know
interesting.
I know that some people frown on them, but it's the only way I can do it because realistically speaking, I can't be awake at 3 in the morning UK time to bid on something, and nor nor would I want to be. I've done that. I've been that guy, but it's no fun. It's no fun. Um, Cool. I'm going to let you go and enjoy the
Yep.
rest of your Sunday. What are you up to today? Are you doing other card stuff, or are you going out and just living life and being in the open blue
I'm
sky
gonna
with
go
your
spend some. I'm gonna go spend time with my family today. It's
nice?
Sunday has been more so a day with me and my wife, and I'm looking forward to starting that day with her. We're gonna go take the family to the mall. We're gonna go look at a couple of new mattresses and do adult stuff today, which
Exciting.
you know what, it's gonna be cool. I'm gonna
Yeah.
make the best of it, and I think that just starting off the morning and just speaking to you has been a pleasure. So I really appreciate
Oh,
you having
bless you.
me
Thank you.
on. I look forward to the next time we chat together, and
Oh, we'll do this
I
again, my
appreciate
friend.
it, Ian.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
No problem at all. Well, listen, we talked about this at the very beginning before we started recording. You know
Yep.
how I like to sign off each week on the podcast, don't you, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, I do. All right. This is Andrew Nguyen with Southern Hype Collects. Enjoy collecting.